Being passionate about strong sensations is truly wonderful, but 1 Daijiro Kato, Suzuka 2003 MotoGP. Cold air hangs over Suzuka's opening round, the kind that makes engines sound sharper and mistakes cost more. Lap 3. Daijiro Kato's Honda storms out of 130R, arrowing toward the Casio Triangle, one of those transitions where full speed becomes full faith. Then the motorcycle twitches. Not a dramatic high side, just a sickening, escalating weave that says the tires and the asphalt are speaking two different languages. The bike drifts left, off the racing line, and Kato is no longer a rider, but a passenger sliding toward a strip of protection that turns out not to protect at all. Impact. A single, brutal subtraction of speed against a gap where soft barriers meet and fail to overlap. There is no fireball to explain the horror, only the silence that follows when a human body has absorbed too much deceleration. Trackside medics sprint. He does not respond. The list of injuries will be written later in clinical words. Severe head and cervical trauma, chest injury. Yet none of those phrases capture the way time seems to stop around a broken helmet and a crushed breath. They work on him at the circuit, then in the ambulance, then in the hospital. Machines take over the rhythms the body can't maintain. Days become nights with fluorescent ceilings and whispered updates. The paddock runs on, humbled. The stands empty. But in Yokkaichi, a 26-year-old lies in the coma, his fame and ferocity reduced to numbers on a monitor. At 12:42 a.m., April 20th, Daijiro Kato dies. The cause will be catalogued: catastrophic brainstem injury and its consequences. But the effect is simpler. A star goes out and a sport feels the dark. In the aftermath, Suzuka disappears from the calendar. Barriers are rethought, seams closed, angles softened. His number, 74, is retired. Decals spread through the paddock like candles in a church. What makes this story terrifying isn't spectacle, it's the precision. A tiny weave at the wrong place. A small opening in the wrong wall. A rider perfectly capable, perfectly brave, meeting a margin that shouldn't have existed. And then the engines keep running, the season moves on, and the quiet at Suzuka's chicane remains. A reminder that in racing, death does not need flames to be absolute. 2 Shoya Tomizawa, Misano 2010, Moto2. The Adriatic heat shimmers over Misano, turning the mane straight into a white ribbon. Mid-race, the field is strung out but still ferociously fast when Shoya Tomizawa tips into the rapid right-hand sequence. It's one of those places where there's no room for doubt, just throttle, line, and trust. Then the bike lets go. No high drama, no fireworks, just a sudden loss of grip at top speed. Rider and machine skimming the asphalt like a stone across water, and sliding back into the racing lane where the next pack is arriving at full song. What follows is the nightmare every rider knows but never names. There is no time, no angle, no escape route. 2 following bikes arrive almost on top of him. Vision narrowed by speed and slipstream, and impact happens in the strobe of a heartbeat. The crowd's roar collapses into a thin, mechanical silence, engines still screaming, but everything human gone quiet. Marshals run. Yellow flags bloom. A stretcher appears as if from nowhere. Track doctors work where he fell. Then, in the medical center, fighting the math of physics. The report will later use clinical shorthand. Severe blunt trauma to head, chest, and abdomen. Catastrophic internal injuries, rapid circulatory collapse. There's little to see from the grandstands. No flames, no wreckage thrown sky high. Only a rider suddenly, terribly still, and a cluster of professionals moving with urgent, economical motions. He is transported under constant resuscitation. The paddock keeps talking in low voices because no one wants to say the word before it arrives. Before the day is over, it does. Shoya Tomizawa, 19 years old, has died. The terror of Misano is its precision. Everything lines up, the speed of a blind, fast section, the geometry that returns a fallen rider to the racing line, the tiny delay in flags, the tiny distance between wheels, until the window for survival closes with surgical exactness. In the aftermath, the arguments begin. Red flag protocols, medical routing, track layout. Safety gets rewritten in memos and meetings. But the essential truth stays behind at the place where he fell. On some corners, momentum outruns mercy, and death doesn't need spectacle to be absolute. 3 Marco Simoncelli, Sepang 2011 MotoGP. Tropical heat sits on Sepang like a hand over the mouth. Lap 2, turn 11. A tightening left that punishes hesitation and rewards nerve. Marco Simoncelli, no 58, hair like a storm cloud under the lid, tips in with the leaders. The Honda twitches, the front folds, and for a heartbeat, he's sliding. Routine, recoverable, until the rear suddenly bites again, and slings bike and rider back across the camber, sideways into the racing line where 2 other machines are arriving at full speed. What happens next is the cold arithmetic of momentum. There is no room, no spare second for avoidance, only a violent convergence at race pace. Bodies and metal intersect with a sound that seems to take the air out of the grandstand. His helmet is torn free in the chaos. The bike carves into the runoff. Flags explode to yellow, then red. Engines drop to a mutter as the circuit remembers how quiet it can be. Medics are on him in seconds. Chest compressions, oxygen. A cordon of orange vests turned inward. They work in that tense choreography you only see when the clock is already winning. In the medical center, the list of injuries will be recorded in clinical shorthand. Severe trauma to head, neck, and chest. Catastrophic internal damage, circulatory collapse. The words are tidy, the reality is not. A young man who never braked for fights on the track now lies perfectly still under white lights. And the paddock, mechanics, rivals, friends, stares at the floor because no one wants to watch hope run out. The race is not restarted. The number 58 leaves Sepang not as a statistic but as a shadow laid across a corner. Investigations and arguments follow about helmet retention, about angles and runoff, about how quickly red flags must fly when a rider returns to the lane of fire. Regulations tighten, procedures harden, and yet the horror of that Sunday clings to the place because it was so precise. A minor slide, a sudden regrip, a line that pinballed a rider into the worst possible geometry. No flames, no spectacle, just the absolute finality of physics. On that bend, in that heat, a star went out and the sport learned, again, that death does not need drama to be complete. 4. Salom, Barcelona 2016, Moto2. Afternoon heat sits heavy over Montmeló. The Moto2 field is chasing 10ths through turn 12, a fast, right-hand kink that funnels you from bravery to braking in a single, unforgiving breath. Salom comes barreling out of the preceding section, the bike settled, the throttle clean. Then, in the span of a heartbeat, the balance tips. Speed, line, and brake pressure fall out of tune. The front skates, the bike stands up, and rider and machine rush straight on toward the barriers at a place designed to be fast, not forgiving. There is no aerial cartwheel, no cinematic explosion, only brutal, sudden deceleration. The air fence bulges, metal and flesh meet the limits of what either can absorb. For a moment, the grandstands don't register what they've seen. The soundtrack of practice keeps droning until the shock catches up. Red flags unfurl, then urgency spreads like a ripple. Marshals vault the wall. Medics drop to their knees and go to work in a choreography that signals how little time is left. Inside the medical center, the words become clinical. Severe blunt trauma to the chest and abdomen. Internal injuries that steal blood and air faster than hands can replace them. He is transferred under resuscitation to hospital. Surgery begins against the clock. Outside, pit boxes dim and voices drop. The session is scrubbed. Somewhere beyond the paddock fences, ordinary traffic hums on the highway while a 24-year-old fights physics one last time. Before the evening comes, the fight is over. Salom is gone. What makes Barcelona terrifying isn't spectacle, it's geometry. Turn 12 asks you to carry speed, then demands instant obedience from tires and brakes with little real estate left if they refuse. In the investigation's cold afterglow, telemetry numbers are parsed and lines are redrawn. The weekend switches to the slower Formula One chicane to blunt that final approach. Later, the circuit's safety map changes again. Barriers moved, angles softened, margins widened. Because the lesson is ugly and simple, at the wrong corner, momentum outruns mercy. The paddock marks his number with decals and black armbands. The world scrolls past highlights that no longer include him. And the corner remains, quieter now, a place where asphalt remembers. Salom's death is not a story of flames, it is the story of precision. A slightly different line, a fraction later on the brakes, a wall a few meters too close, and how a sport built on risk must keep redrawing its borders when the arithmetic proves fatal. 5. Dupasquier, Mugello 2021, Moto3. Tuscan noon light shimmers over Mugello like heat off a blade. It's qualifying, the hour when a grid is decided by inches and riders hunt each other's slipstream. The field pours through Arrabbiata 2, a blind, very fast right-hander that rewards commitment and punishes any misread of speed or grip. Dupasquier's KTM tips in cleanly. Then, in a breath, the balance is gone. The bike snaps, he slides. No fireworks, just asphalt snatching rider and machine and feeding them back toward the racing line. What follows is the nightmare timing of pack racing. Two following bikes arrive almost immediately, vision narrowed by speed, angle, and the blind crest. There is no room, there is no spare second. Impact comes in the strobe of a heartbeat, the kind of collision that doesn't look dramatic from the grandstand yet empties the air of all sound. Yellow flags flash, marshals sprint. The camera looks away because there is nothing useful left to see. Track medics are on him within moments, working in that tense choreography reserved for the worst days. Airway, breathing, circulation, the battle to buy time from physics. He is stabilized and airlifted to Florence's Careggi Hospital. And Dupasquier, 19, has died. Afterward, there are minute silence tributes and the black armband quiet of pit boxes. And when a young rider vanishes into that gap, what remains is the hush that falls over a fast place when everyone understands exactly what happened and how little time there was to change it.